Welcome back to OneStopTutorials.com. Alibaba here again. Hope everyone's alright out there. Now we're going to carry on with the timeline. Okay, in the last tutorial we explained what these sort of icons up here are. Now we're going to explain what these icons down here do and a few other functions that you can add to the timeline. Okay, let me just draw a shape again just to make it look, Control Command Z, let's add an actual fill, I don't know, red, that's fine, just to make it not look so boring. So again, what are we up to? Right, first we have here by default, as I said in the last tutorial, it was layer 1 is set to you by Flash by default. Okay, to add a new layer, to create a new layer, all you need to do is left click on this icon and that will allow you to create a new layer. Again, you can create as many as you want, you can just carry on left clicking and this will allow you to create more layers. Okay, you can name a layer just by double left clicking on it, which I think I showed you in the last tutorial. Okay, you can actually, and that is really good thing to get into, is actually naming your layers. Now one thing you want to be aware of is that every time you make a new layer, the new layer is higher up than the layer below. Okay, so on layer 1 we made these actual shapes. Okay, so let me click on layer 3 and I'm going to make another shape. I'm going to change the color so you can see the difference, and then I'm just going to draw on the stage. You'll now notice that layer 3 rectangle box here is overlapping the layer 1. That's because it is higher up in the chain, as I call it. It's a higher layer. If you wanted to make this red box, this layer 1, become above the actual green square layer 3, you just left click, drag up above layer 3, and you'll now notice that the actual let me just bring this baby back. You'll actually notice that the red shape here is actually above the green shape. That's because it's a higher level. Okay, so that's the way the layers work. The higher it is, the more it is on top. Okay, I hope you sort of understand what I'm actually talking about. A lot of people don't. So what else have we got here? Well, we've also, when you get into a lot of layers, organizing them is a good idea, and by clicking the new folder layer. Okay, so if I click at the top, I click new folder, this will allow me to have a folder. Again, double left click on where it says folder 1, change it to whatever you want to call it, folder. And the way to move things into that folder is you just simply, you can either click on one, hold down Control or Command, click on individual ones, okay, and then you just left click and you drag that into that folder, and you'll now notice there's a little arrow pointing down which will allow you to open and close this folder. Now when you have the folder closed, you'll notice that there's also no timeline. That's because the timeline is only working on the layers, and the layers, as soon as you open the layers inside of the folder, you'll notice that the timeline appears back. You also have here, Americans call it trash can, British call it dustbin, whatever. It's a delete area. You just select the layer, you delete it. Whatever layer is selected, that is what will be deleted. Okay, so that's some other good functions there. If you wanted to, you could also right click and choose delete layer. Okay, now what you've also got up here on the left here is you've got this little arrow with these 4 lines. Okay, and if you left click on that, this will allow you to adjust this actual timeline. So at the moment our timeline is set to normal. If I change it to tiny, you'll notice that it becomes tiny, and if you do the opposite and change it to large, you'll notice that the timeline becomes large. This is good sometimes for getting in there. I'm limited on space for these tutorials, so this can work out quite well sometimes. I'm going to leave it on normal. You've also got short. Now what this will do is this will basically move these layers up. Okay, if you watch these layers here, and when I hit short, you'll notice they sort of shrink up and move up, and this will allow you to have more layer space here. Again, you can click that on and click it off. If for instance you have some long names and you want to make this section longer, down here there's 3 lines poking down. All you do is left click, drag, and that will allow you to move the actual time frame so you can see your names and work with it. This is what I quite like about the Adobe products. They're very user friendly, allow you to move stuff along up and down. So now I think you've got an understanding on how to use the timeline. Let's get into actually doing some stuff, working with some keyframes, working with frames, working with tweening and motioning, and we can have you moving along onto your projects. Take it easy, guys and girls. Catch you at the next One Stop Tutorials.